Good, happy Thursday morning, February 6th, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Thursday morning, so let's begin. First up, winter returns Thursday with snow, ice expected. Officials prepare for early morning storm. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Gene Mackin.
This is our moment. This is our one shot to defeat Donald Trump. I'm asking you to join me to help turn the page on our politics. That is why I am running for president.
Stand by to hit the highway. Plows seem to be taking a long winter's nap, but the state will wake up to a complex winter storm. Roads already pre-treated to the south, no treatment to the north. The state DOT says due to the cold, it will be better traction that way. 650 state trucks on standby. Utilities say there's the potential for ice-related power outages.
We have been watching the track of this storm very closely, and we have hundreds of line, tree, and service workers throughout the state ready to respond if needed.
Concord has had 27.4 inches of snow this season, where official state measurements are taken. That's about 10 inches below the average.
In New England, winters like this we don't see very often.
You just say, I want snow. Snow?
I want snow, Sadie.
And in New England tradition, we found people getting head starts with carts and carts of food, like this mother carting her family to the store.
Being that prepared mom, you gotta get your bread and butter because you just never know. We still just like to stay prepared. The last thing I want to do is run out of bread and butter, and it's coming down.
That is exactly right. She made my night. Now, we can tell you that last year at this time, we were also below average by a couple inches of snow. One storm around here can make all of that disappear. Live in Hooksett tonight, Gene Mackin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. So, be prepared for the snow and ice that is coming, everyone. Student shoots, kill himself at Second Start Alternative High School in Concord. No one else injured in shooting, police say. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Suzanne Rowntree.
The greed and corruption undermining our democracy is bigger than one man, and so is the solution.
Well, Concord police say that they got a call from the Second Start Alternative School on North State Street at about 10 o'clock this morning. That's when a 17-year-old student shot and killed himself. Police say the student, who was alone, was not in a classroom at the time, but would not disclose exactly where the incident took place. At the time, there were about a dozen other students between the ages of 14 and 17, as well as faculty in the school. Everyone was evacuated and nobody was injured. Police say the school and the police department recently went through training in the event of an emergency like today's.
Training did kick in at this point. We're very happy with the way the response went down. We're very happy with all the assistance we received from state police, the Attorney General's office, and the Concord Fire Department, Homeland Security. Everybody had reached out, and whatever we needed for assistance, they were there for us, and we couldn't be more thankful for that.
Now, the school says they will have counselors on hand for both the students and staff. Live in Concord, Suzanne Rowntree, WMUR News 9.
Suzanne, thank you for that live report. And if you are thinking about suicide or worried about a friend or family, Remember, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. That number on your screen right now, 1-800-273-8255. Or visit our link on this story on WMUR.com and our mobile app.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Man accused of stabbing Manchester police officers held pending court date. 3 officers treated for stab wounds, officials say. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Mike Cherry.
At Beltates, customers will find everything they need for a building project. The brand names you trust to perform. And with a fleet of over 50 delivery vehicles, we deliver when and where our customers need them. Beltates Building Products. 9 locations throughout New Hampshire and Massachusetts.
Less than 24 hours after he was allegedly involved in a violent confrontation with Manchester police, Akwasi Owusu faced a judge for the first time.
The state is requesting that the court hold the defendant in preventive detention.
Yesterday, officers were dispatched to a home on Ahern Street for reports of a domestic incident. According to police, as they were en route, they received a second call for an incident at the same address. When officers arrived, they say Owusu was secluded in a bedroom.
The officers tried to speak with him, tried to talk him out. He wasn't complying with any of the officers' commands. He refused to show his hands, which heightened the officer's safety issues.
Officers attempted to arrest Owusu by tasing him, but say that had no effect. The state says Owusu then pulled out a knife and attacked officers.
2 of them were stabbed in the areas of their torsos, resulting in partially collapsed lungs. The other was cut in the head and received a laceration as a result.
This morning, police identified the officers as Brandon Langton, Olivia LaCroix, and Kevin Shields.
2 of the officers are still hospitalized as a result of this incident. 1 of them is expected to undergo surgery to treat the injury.
Owusu's defense asked the judge to consider holding Owusu at Elliott Hospital for mental evaluation. The judge denied that request. Instead, Owusu will be held at Valley Street Jail until a court date is set. If convicted on all charges, Owusu could face a maximum of 99 years in prison.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. New Hampshire debate looms larger after failure in caucuses. Candidates missing out on Iowa bounce look to New Hampshire to accelerate campaign. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
This is our moment. This is our one shot to defeat Donald Trump. I'm asking you to join me to help turn the page on our politics. That is why I am running for president.
Well, Jen, this debate is always a critical part of how first-in-the-nation voters make their decision. And in the wake of what happened in Iowa, its importance has only grown. Think of it this way. Most of the value of winning the Iowa caucus comes in being able to declare victory. The vaunted Iowa bounce can give candidates a real boost in terms of fundraising and momentum heading into New Hampshire and the rest of the primary calendar. Consider President Barack Obama. Who knows how things would have turned out for him back in that brutal primary fight in 2007 and 2008 if instead of winning Iowa, the result was just a big question mark like it is right now. For a lot of voters, victory in Iowa showed Obama could win, and that was huge for him. Now that Iowa's verdict is rendered mostly moot because even when they declare a winner, it won't get the kind of coverage nationwide that it would have normally, the next contest becomes paramount, and that is the first-in-the-nation primary. The debate informs that vote, and it's a national showcase that provides a chance for a breakout moment for a candidate like an Amy Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren, or an opportunity for Pete Buttigieg, Bernie Sanders, or someone like that to solidify their number one status. Bottom line, though, everyone will be watching on Friday night. In the studio, Adam Sexton, WMUR News.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Biden calls out Buttigieg, Sanders, and New Hampshire campaign stop. Democratic presidential candidate campaigns in final week before primary. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Charisse LeClaire.
This is our moment. This is our one shot to defeat Donald Trump. I'm asking you to join me to help turn the page on our politics. That is why I am running for president.
Well, Mike, Biden is one of 7 candidates that is qualified to make that debate stage that will take place Friday night here on the campus, where preparations are already underway. Now, Biden spoke to voters earlier today in Somersworth. As results continue to trickle in from Iowa, Biden is mentioning his competitors in speeches. He says if Bernie Sanders were the nominee, Republicans and President Trump would attack his socialist plans. He also called out Mayor Pete Buttigieg.
Every Democrat will have to carry the label Senator Sanders has chosen for himself. He calls him, and I don't criticize him, he calls himself a Democratic socialist. Well, we're already seeing what Donald Trump is going to do with that. I have great respect for Mayor Pete and the service of this nation, but I do believe it's a risk, to be just straight up with you, for this party to nominate someone who's never held an office higher than mayor of a town of 100,000 people in Indiana.
Now, candidates have until 11:59 tomorrow night to qualify for Friday's debate. Live in Manchester tonight, I'm Charisse LeClaire, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Warren answers questions from voters in Nashua. Democratic presidential candidate holds campaign event before Trump impeachment vote. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Kristen Carosa.
This is our moment. This is our one shot to defeat Donald Trump. I'm asking you to join me to help turn the page on our politics. That is why I am running for president.
Just days after the Iowa caucus, Elizabeth Warren is back in the Granite State.
We're in the top 3 in Iowa, and now we've landed in New Hampshire, and we're out here fighting for every vote in New Hampshire.
During her campaign stop at Nashua Community College, Warren took several questions from voters.
Kimberly, I've met you several times. You're the one for me. Okay.
Many of the questions were about health care and the rising cost of prescription drugs.
I'm going to lower the cost of insulin, of EpiPens, of HIV/AIDS drugs, and a whole set of other drugs that are commonly used.
Warren's visit to the Granite State came just hours before she headed to Washington for the Senate impeachment vote.
The Republicans in the Senate have locked arms around this president. And they established, when they put on a sham trial, that their first loyalty is not to the Constitution, but to Donald Trump.
Once Senator Warren returns from Washington, D.C. after the impeachment vote, she plans to make several campaign stops across the Granite State ahead of the New Hampshire primary. An opportunity she is embracing to get her message out.
I'm running on an anti-corruption plan that every Democrat can embrace, and a lot of Republicans and independents as well. A 2-cent wealth tax that gives us opportunities for all of our kids, and expanding Social Security.
A grassroots campaign Warren says she is proud of.
The money that comes in is $20 contributions to ElizabethWarren.com, $5 contributions. Got a contribution recently for $2 from someone who said that they were unemployed, but that they wanted to be part of the fight too.
In Nashua, Kristen Carosa, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Sanders speaks to voters in Derry before impeachment vote. Democratic presidential candidate says Trump thinks he's above law. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Andy Hirschberger.
This is our moment. This is our one shot to defeat Donald Trump. I'm asking you to join me to help turn the page on our politics. That is why I am running for president.
It was an enthusiastic reception for Bernie Sanders at the Derry Opera House, but the mood quickly turned serious as the Democratic senator spoke first about the gravity of impeachment and what he calls the dangerous behavior of President Donald Trump.
What you are talking about is a president who thinks he is above the law. Doesn't matter to me what Congress wants. I'm the president. I can do anything I want.
It was Sanders' only stop in the state today before heading back to Washington to cast his impeachment vote. Coming off a strong showing in Iowa, he told local voters about the importance of the primary.
If we win here in New Hampshire, I think we got a good shot at it. It will have a profound impact on future primaries and caucuses.
Sanders covered a lot of ground, everything from climate change to gun control legislation to Palestinian-Israeli relations. They were all topics that this crowd wanted to hear.
Healthcare is one of the things that's very near and dear to my heart. I'm a nurse, and I see it day in and day out, and he's just what we need to fix our system.
I've always been a moderate Democrat, but I'll tell you, the push we've gotten from the right, from the current person in office, everything Bernie says makes sense.
Sanders says he will unite behind whoever the Democratic nominee is. In Derry, Andy Hirschberger, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And now let's take a look at your 2020 New Hampshire candidate tracker for February 6, 2020. We have a bunch of candidates campaigning across New Hampshire today. So let's take a look at that list. Let's begin with the first candidate. The first candidate we're talking about, Michael Bennett. He has a house party in Breckenwood, New Hampshire at 6:30 p.m. tonight. Pete Buttigieg. He has two events today in New Hampshire. His first event, conversation with New Hampshire veterans at the Merrimack American Legion Post 98 in Merrimack, New Hampshire at 2:30 p.m. His second event, CNN Presidential Town Hall at St. Elsom College in Manchester, New Hampshire this evening. Tulsi Gabbard, she has two events today in New Hampshire. Her first event, Presidential Candidate Forum on the Health and Growth of the U.S. Economy at River Valley Community College in Claremont, New Hampshire at 11 a.m. Her second event, Town Hall at Fireside Inn and Suite in Lebanon, New Hampshire at 6 p.m. Amy Cullen-Bulcher has one event today in New Hampshire, CNN Presidential Town Hall at St. Elsom College in Manchester, New Hampshire this evening. Deval Patrick has three events today in New Hampshire. His first event, attending Laconia Democrats celebration in Laconia, New Hampshire at 5 p.m. His second event, college affordable discussion at UNH in Durham, New Hampshire at 7 p.m. And then his third event, CNN Presidential Town Hall at St. Elsom College in Manchester, New Hampshire this evening. Bernie Sanders has one event today in New Hampshire, CNN Presidential Town Hall at St. Elsom College in Manchester, New Hampshire tonight. Tom Steyer has two events today in New Hampshire. His first event, visit with Team Masters Local 633 in Manchester, New Hampshire at 7:30 p.m. And then Town Hall at Keene State College in Keene, New Hampshire at 5:30 p.m. Jill Walsh has 4 events in New Hampshire today. Meet and greet at Cafe El Rion in Manchester, New Hampshire at 8:30 a.m. His second event, meet and greet at Murphy's Diner in Manchester, New Hampshire at 10 a.m. His third event, meet and greet at Red Arrow Diner in Manchester, New Hampshire at 11 a.m. And his fourth event, meet and greet at Common Man Restaurant in Concord, New Hampshire at 2:30 p.m. Elizabeth Warren has one event today in New Hampshire. Get Out the Vote event at Tupelo Music Hall in Derry, New Hampshire at 6:15 p.m. Bill Weld has 2 events today in New Hampshire. His first event, speak at Hudson Litchfield Rotary Club, meeting at Rogers Memorial Library in Hudson at 7:15 a.m. And then his second event, College Cost and Debt in the 2020 Elections Forum at UNH in Durham at 6 p.m. Andrew Yang has 3 events today in New Hampshire. His first event, Town Hall at Merrill Place Conference Center in Plymouth, New Hampshire at 12:30 p.m. Second event, Town Hall at River Mill in Dover, New Hampshire at 6 p.m. And third event, Town Hall at Exeter, New Hampshire at 7:30 p.m. And those are all the candidates in New Hampshire today. And New Hampshire Democratic presidential town halls, days before crucial New Hampshire primary, a CNN special, night 2 of the event, live from New Hampshire. The CNN Democratic presidential town halls continue tonight at 8 p.m. on CNN at St. Elton College in Manchester, New Hampshire. Let's take a look at this video and preview from CNN.
Tonight, night 2 of a special 2-night event. Sanders, Buttigieg, Klobuchar, Patrick, live from New Hampshire. The CNN Democratic Presidential Town Hall continues tonight at 8, only on CNN.
Okay, and there you go. Night number 2. U.S. futures point to 4th straight day of gains on Wall Street. U.S. stock index futures rose on Thursday morning with economic data and corporate earnings taking the reins as fears over the coronavirus outbreak eased slightly. New developments in search for 2 missing Idaho children. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News Prime.
Still so many questions on this case. Let's bring in former FBI agent and ABC News contributor Brad Garrett. Brad was a hostage negotiator with the FBI for 17 years. Brad, after they missed the court's deadline, now what? Can authorities do anything to get this mom to come back to Idaho?
I don't know about that, but clearly there are a number of things, Tom, they can do. For example, first of all, the mystery around the storage facility. Children's toys, other things. Apparently on one day, Lori's brother went in and out of this facility like 7-8 times. What is that all about? They're going to need to timeline that. Why did she take JJ out of school after he'd only been in school for 3 weeks? And then it's the same month where no one ever sees him again. So what I'm suggesting is there has to be a tightening of the timeline of both of them, of both Chad and Lori. Because let's face it, if they've harmed these children in some form or fashion, people tend not to be sophisticated at that. And there's going to be clues. There's going to be other people around them, like Melanie Bordeaux. who apparently was running with them for a period of time. What does she know? In other words, draw the circle tighter on the people they were associated with, in particular when they were still in Idaho.
Brad, as we heard in Clayton's report, those missing children's mother and her partner had spouses who died under circumstances authorities now say are suspicious. Authorities also tell ABC News they're working to build a case against the Daybells. Are those previous incidents relevant?
Well, they're certainly relevant as far as other crimes. You know, the mystery in this case, obviously, are two missing children, but the bigger mystery is, why did they disappear? The why may help you figure out, perhaps, where they are at this given juncture. But I think, again, to go back, the answer to this story still lies in Idaho because, again, public source says and the police say they don't think the kids ever made it to Hawaii, which means that this is really still focused in Idaho, in particular to finding both these children.
You know, I want to go back to that clue you were talking about, potential clue. People put children's items and other odds and ends in storage units all the time. In the end, could that surveillance video be considered significant unless police find something meaningful inside?
Well, only if you know exactly what they took out and what the motive was in using this storage facility. If these children have been harmed, then why are you storing things in a storage facility knowing they're not there anymore? We don't know the answer to that, of course. But the key is, why did they have that facility? Because there's going to be a reason beyond just to store bicycles and things that belong to the children. That's going to be, I think, potentially a key in this case.
All right, Brad, thank you so much for that. We appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.